is actually testable, even if it's not being tested today, but given the last few times I've gone in, I'm probably going to get sidetracked and not really accomplish anything at all. But regardless, just playing around. Ooh, that's loud. Is this Christmas music? Okay. I actually have to fix, somebody told me something about the scripts that I'm definitely being very roundabout on it, on something. Still kind of loud. There we go. Alright. So, specifically, they were talking about how... no, not the guy in the snow. It'd be on the snow. Yes. Because there's another event I should be using on deserialization to get the time it took instead. So that's what I'm going to do. So deserialize on deserialization result. Apparently there's a time that you can get out of it. It also means I need to change the way I'm serializing it from being automatic to not being automatic. Deserialization. Send time. Okay, this is Starfield. Real time since startup. Either, okay, so maybe real time since startup. So how does that work? So maybe instead of making it that, float test networking real time. Nope. How does that work? Is it a time delta time? Just a time. Okay, so time, real time since startup. Real time since start. So this is a float. Cannot be used like a method. Alright, I see. Okay. So instead of getting the networking time, we'll get real time since startup. And that's a float too, so I don't have to worry about doubles anymore. And I'll keep the sync delay, which is going to be equal to that value. Alright. I think that's good. What I might also do is I might make a system of multiple snow systems instead of only one and have it cycle through them. Because I really wanted to use the particle system's ability to simulate a projectile to deal with like delays in launching. It's kind of roundabout, but I feel like it's a good way to do it. Maybe not a good way to do it. I feel like it's the way I want to do it. It'd be better if I could just have one of them fire, but every time I click play, it resets still. And if nothing else, it's something I can do for now, and I can fix it later if it does become an issue. So, snow systems. Instead of a simple fire projectile on the snow system, it's going to use a cycling thing where it'll have a snow system, which is going to have a fire direction, which is determined by the thing that's firing it. So, we'll make this public. And everything else is probably fine. Okay, so instead of this, what we're going to do is we're going to have it under the, I don't know, the, it would probably be a world variables thing. So I won't have the snow system anymore. Instead, the world variables is going to have a shared reference pool. Is it a smart move to have a shared reference pool? I don't think it is, actually. So instead, we'll just have a group underneath every single one. Because they'll be competing for the same udon otherwise. Okay, so instead, type of, I'm going to need to get the type of the udon each time I want to fire it. And I'll increment it. I could do a quick function to go down and find the next one, I guess. I don't need to do it. Yes, I do. Alright, so for 0 I is less than snow systems. Player udons. Oh, that's still needed. Well, that's strange. Oh, wait. Duh. Okay. So systems, that's going to be something. I'm going to figure that out later. So let's then dot the number of snow systems, dot length, increment it. And then for each one, I'm going to get the work udon of it. Work snow system. And into each work snow system. We are going to set the program of the team index into it, to the local index that was found. That's just the first thing that just needs to be done. And then, all right, so work snow systems. That means I need to get the actual work snow system up here. And the actual work snow system I is going to be incremented where it needs to find the next one down that's free. I could do that as inside of a for loop, or I could just use the next one and increment it if it's not good. Let's just use a for loop. In fact, I just copy this one. and it needs to, in its if statement, basically if this one is active, then it can't use it. And how does it know it's active? Well, the snow system will clear itself on impact with something, because it's going to get a particle collision regardless. But right now I'm having it where only one player is sinking the particle collision. So not everybody will get it. Should I just have a boolean on this that just clears it, maybe? Or a counter, maybe. Just a counter for how many times this particular object has been fired. And then I can see, or I can just rename it. Because one of the things I might want to have the snow system do is also keep track of when something gets hit where. I could use the POS system for that too. Because it's first used for firing it, but I could dual use it for also impact. The team index is fine, snow damage is fine. I do actually want to change it so that the gun itself keeps track of the damage, since... Well, maybe not. Probably have this no damage be something that's more static than that. Alright, is it a synced value that I'm going to use? I have a sync delay. Let's go ahead and put another one here. We'll call this one a code of some kind. Or it could just be a boolean, I guess. You could have a boolean of unfired versus fired, and if it's fired, then it's going to position it. All right. So snowball, we'll call it a boolean. Oh, and this needs to be a float now. Snowball. Boolean to indicate if the sync is for a maybe an integer. Actually, I can see. So for tracking when a snowball is launched versus creating like an impact location, and it'll just be a simple integer starting at 0. Sync delay can be 0, that's fine to start with. Actually, no, sync delay should be 0. Okay. That also means I need it should be a float. An old snowball value. So activating the snow is still going to do all of the things it was doing before, where it serializes, and then firing the snow is a thing that happens on the sync delay. I need another thing here under activate snow where it increments the old snowball. Or it increments the snowball rather, so set program variable of snowball. And we're going to increment it equal to the snowball's value plus 1. And that will be an indicator of it going to the next one down. I guess I should start old snowball at 0 or -1 or whatever, doesn't really matter, and start snowball at 1. And now after the first snowball hits, it will be 2 away, which will be my trigger to like ignore it, whereas otherwise if it's 1 away, it will use that to do something. And instead of doing a fire snow event, I'm going to do a deserialization event, so I'm not going to have this anymore. Instead, I'm going to have fire snow be on deserialization, which I need to remember how I do that because I haven't done that since for a little while. I'm going to do it here. There we go. That's simple. Alright, so instead of fire snow, it's not system. It's just going to be a simple on deserialization. If a particle is needed or to create a hit effect, I guess is lack for a better word. So this is going to be part of the first one. So the first one is going to be if it's different versus if it's the same is the criteria. Oh, I might make extra snow when it doesn't need to then though. I might just need to have a separate boolean to keep track of it in some way for impacts. Because this is what happens when it syncs. This part doesn't necessarily need to sync because this is going to sync as again when it. Well, actually, I'm going to have it sync again here somewhere. I'm going to have it create a impact site. In fact, I should probably do that right now before I get my bearings. So right now, this is the part of setting that there. So first apply gravity effects onto the target. Next, create location sync the location of impact for hit effects, I guess. And this could be things like sounds, triggering sounds, or leaving like a snowball there for some reason. Like if it hits a wall or something, it could create like a little snowball object. All right. And for this, what it's going to do is it's going to reuse the POS, so it's going to do kind of this again. Just without the sync delay. Rotation's fine, I'll figure out rotations later. Instead of the fire, it's actually going to be the collision, right? Collision C. There we go. So instead it would be the C dot points, right? Collision dot contacts. Let's see, contacts. Is that out? That's not the right value. That's not. Hold on. Transform test, or it'd be vector 3. Vector 3. Contacts dot Would it be context like 0? Dot position, dot point. There we go. And then quaternion. Dot. Is there a rotation? I mean, do I need a rotation? How do you get the rotation of the impact? Rigid body rotation. How to get the based on a collision of impact. Quaternion, normal. Simulation space is set to local. It's not going to be set to local though, it's a world space. I don't want the rotation of the object on impact though, I want the rotation of the, like the point of the impact. Like it would just be the wall that it bumps into, right? I guess for now I don't need to sync the rotation and I can just deal with that. Alright, and then it'll serialize this. Do I not have a serialize on this yet? I do not. We'll just go and make one there too. Serialize, serialize, serialize. There it is. Alright, so serialize is now the event to use. Okay. And I guess I don't need this to be in here in general, right? Because I can have it outside of it. Well, that might change later. Like if I want to have a different kind of impact for the sound effect that it hits, I'd probably just do that here since I'm already doing it here, so it doesn't make sense to keep it inside of the switch statement. I'll probably fix up that color later. Okay, so what am I trying to do with the snowballs? I wanted to increment it so that it knows it needs to fire one. Do I need another separate sync for impact, or is there a way to keep track of that? Alright, so the first statement is going to check to see if it needs to in the first place. So if it needs to in the first place is equal to if... Because this is simulating, this is for firing the projectile. In which case the old snowball then becomes equal to a snowball. If the snowball is not equal to... I guess the first state would be if it's equal to it. If old snowball is equal to the new snowball that was just made, like synced, that means that you didn't have to set this, so this is not true yet. So in that case, it'll go into here. Oh wait, no, that's a different one. So this is actually going to be an else if. Alright, so if the old snowball is equal to this snowball, then it'll do this. Else if the... Do I even need an if statement on this one? Basically, if it doesn't match, it's going to make it match as a part of this, potentially. I guess it doesn't need to be incremented to 1, it could start at 0. right? And I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay, so if the old snowball is equal to it, it'll do something here. Otherwise, it will continue on to do this. In which case, this can just be here. It doesn't need to be weird like that. Okay. Because the sync delay is still an issue there. All right, so this is where it will create an effect. So create snowball effects for sounds at the location of impact. And I guess I could have, well, how am I seeing what it's actually impacting on? I might need another integer of some kind to indicate that, right? Because right now I'm not indicating what the type of impact was. Sync delay, POS rote, POS team index, snow damage. I guess I could turn the snowball into more data than just what it is now by making it a very big number. Then I can change the primary number based on what it hits, I guess. But then it'll try to fire another snowball. I think I just need to have it have a different number to indicate what it hits. Call it snow impact. Alright, so now it's going to set a snow impact. I could... No, I don't want this one to change on its own. I only want this to matter after it actually impacts something. I think most of these I don't want to update automatically. Mostly this is an on-deserialization control kind of thing. Using the snow impact value. And then that means I need to set the snow impact value as a part of this. Oh, right, I have to do it this way. So I'll set this to the layer, I guess. That's probably the easiest way to do it. This definitely doesn't need to be in here. That can be out here, 100%. Maybe not 100%. The object that I hit in the future, well, it can still be out there for this. Like, I can have these out here, and I can always change it inside the code, and it'll change it before it syncs. And I will serialize this after, though. I'll do it later for that reason. Okay. So snow impact, other layer, contact points for the, which is of course the POS, and that layer is just going to determine what was actually hit by it, which will let you do things here. Specifically like sound effects. This is where I would play sound effects or particle, like some other effect that I want to have in. I'm getting so many variables. All right. Are any of these variables like important to be public? Like they can all probably be private, right? I don't actually need them to be public. Whatever. Okay, what is your issue? Local team index doesn't exist. Oh, right, because this is the old system. So instead of firing a projectile, it still needs to do what it was doing before. Basically, it needs to send a custom event of activate snow. Oh, there's a criteria. That's right. It needs to be not fired yet, or not actively in the air, I guess is a way to put it. What I could do is I could set it so that when you fire it, the impact goes to like -1 or something, or 0 since I'm using the layer anyway. So in that way, I would also need to set it to 0 every time you fire it to make sure that we know that it's in the air. Or so that's in the air versus not in the air. Is in the air 1, not in the air 0. Actually, in the air being 0 makes sense, because then I can just go if it's above 0, then it's impacted. And if it's impacted, it can be reused and set to 0. So if it's in the air 0, not in the air greater than 0. And then it would have to start at 1 because otherwise it will never fire. So as a part of that, when I activate the snow and it actually fires and sends it off. Do we even need the snowball then? Because if it's in the air, I may not even need that variable now, actually, if I'm just using the impact to sync things. The undeserialization, I can just use that value. So instead of if the snowball, I can just treat it as if the impact is like still positive, and you can change it locally, and that's fine, because you don't need to sync it locally. So instead, I'll check if snow impact is greater than this has to also send a what's the code for serialization for like anything? I know you request serialization on pre-serialization, on post-serialization. I think I would just have it be sent here. That should probably be fine, right? God, it feels so weird. That feels so weird. I don't like that. That feels a lot better. I don't know why. Alright, fire snow through there. Oh, I need to keep this though. Alright, all that's got to do is do that. Overwrite. Okay. I need to stop using public for everything. A lot of these things don't need to be public. This does, this does. This definitely doesn't need to be public. This might need to be public. I'm not sure how the particle collisions interact with it. The variables are not really going to get used outside of it, I don't think, so these don't need to be public. Snowball, I'm getting rid of that variable entirely. Snow impact is going to be used outside of it. Team index, I don't think it is either. Damage is probably going to be set from outside of it, so I need that to be public. Oh wait, team index needs to be public for that reason too. Okay. Alright, so snowball's not being used anymore. Instead, what we have is a snow impact value. So if snow impact value is equal to 1, that's when you need to do the snowball effect. Otherwise, if this is true, and the snowball is greater than 1 even. Or I guess it could just be if it's greater than 0. Because this technically would be true for this one too, but it would never go into it anyway, right? Wait, no, 1 is the effect. Hold on, I have to go back down to my... if it's in the air, it's 0. If it's not in the air... What am I doing? If it's greater than 1, then that's when you would actually use it. Because if it's 1, it means it hasn't impacted anything yet. If snow impact is equal to 0, that means it's trying to actually fire, and it hasn't fired yet, and you need to actually simulate and shoot it out, which means to change it to whatever it needs to be. And this is also... I think I would have this locally changed to 1 so that it doesn't refire on accident. It won't sync this part, and that's fine. I still need to note that, it's fine. Okay, so old sync delay is less than sync delay with fire delay. Snow impact is equal to 0 is requirement, because now that it becomes 1, it means it won't refire again. In case there's something weird with the networking that tries to get it to fire again. And then the snow impact here, being greater than 1, is indicative of it actually having collided with something. And it does this instead of this. And as a part of doing this, it will change the snow impact back to to whatever it is. What am I doing? It'll change to what it is. I guess I could make it. I could make it greater than 2, and I could use 2 as a return value. So that it doesn't do it on a 2, but it also doesn't do it on a 0, because it's going to change when you fire it again. So I can go snow impact equals 2. So 2 means that it's already been, you've had the effect, which should be actually one of the last things that it does, doesn't it? Okay. And again, later I can add stuff into here for the snow impact integer for what actually happens. Probably another switch statement. I don't need this anymore. Instead, this is going to change, instead of snow impact into 0. There we go. And then if I go to the snow gun, now I have a variable to actually look for, which is going to be integer snow impact is equal to, it's an integer from the work snow system, and it's called snow impact. And then we have an if statement. If the snow impact is greater than, what do I have it starting at? I have it starting at 1. I guess I'd want it to be greater than 0. It doesn't really matter, because if it's a 0, it's in the air, which means you can't use it. If it's not a 0, then it should have been done with the code and everything else by then anyway. So it just has to be greater than 0, that's fine. In which case it'll return after sending the event to activate the snow. Alright, and that will fire the projectile again, only this time I am doing it so where I can have multiple of these snow systems being used under a particular gun. If I'm using a different kind of system, something that's more automatic for the snow, I think instead of having it where it tracks it like this, I would just have it be turned on. I could still simulate the start of it, but instead I would just have it be on versus off, really. Like it would be on a loop, right? So I don't need to worry about having multiple systems for that kind of thing. I might have to have multiple position systems for the snow that hits, but that's not an important thing here. The snow gun here would be a slower, snow system here is be a slower system. I might just have to code for it later. What am I even using the player for at this point? Right, for keeping track of the possession and having it track onto a player. Okay, I think I should make it so that you can actually like join, quote unquote, join a team. Obviously, there's not really teams right now, but just the base idea of being able to grab something and turn into it is probably important. So what we will do for this might just make an object underneath the player udon that can be used to grab it. Little cube for now. Alright, so a little cube. Move it over here. Doesn't really matter where it goes as long as it's not part of the actual colliders here. And have the colliders be off if they're not on a player, and I'll change that later. Cube. Oh, join cube. Join cube. Gonna put a temporary behavior on this one. Send event on direct. Maybe that's the bad color. Maybe I'll make it this color. There we go. Alright. Alright, so you have cubes. Join cube. I could just make the gun actually make you join the team, I guess. You just pick up the gun and that shifts you over. I kind of like the idea of having anybody be able to pick up the guns, like if they drop for some reason. I guess that doesn't really matter. They wanted the gun to follow with the player too, so maybe it is better to do it that way. Okay, so we have this empty pickup, which as of right now, it just sends an event to claim the snow gun. But now that I'm going to be doing it this way, I think the snow gun's claiming should also be used to claim the player, the team. In which case, the snow gun does not have a team assigned to it, and thus the snow system doesn't even need to have the team index synced. It just needs to be an integer that exists. I'll still make it public so it can be changed later, but it definitely does not need to be synced. Let's not be used anymore. All right, and then the snow gun, then team index. So claiming it, I do still need to make sure that you're not on a team. So, or that you're still not a player. But it doesn't need to set the team index anymore. All it needs to do is set the your local p index to be equal to it. And this is actually in a way, the snow gun is now linked to a specific udon if I do it this way. So instead of trying to find it like this, I'm gonna just make it a variable. In which case it's a specific target, so the integer doesn't really matter that way. So it doesn't need to bind to a player the way it did before. So that's not needed. The syncing isn't needed. The held P sync isn't needed because it's not going to change. See, what was I doing here? This is important though, because it is important for knowing who the owner of it is. I'm not really serializing anymore. So claiming it is less about getting a gun now. Instead, it's more about claiming ownership of the player. So instead of it being a public variable, I'm gonna have it be an interact instead. Is this an override? I think that's an override. This will tell me. Oh, that's right, it's on pickup. Oh, should I just do it as an on pickup? Because that's what this is, right? I think this is literally an on pickup, so claim snow gun. Oh yeah, okay, no, that was accurate. Claim snow gun is fine for on pickup. That's what it'll do, is it will pick it up and claim it. As long as your player index is below 0. And it'll set up a big series of, it'll go into the big series of events. This is for firing projectiles. Firing snow projectiles that goes through. This is used for claiming a projectile and a team. And a player state, I guess it can be a player state, that's fine. I still need on player left, but I'll figure out more about that later. I don't need this anymore though, that doesn't even exist anymore. I still feel like it's important to have if the player left to do something. I guess it... It doesn't really need to be here on this thing that does it. Necessarily, I could have it on the udon, the player udon itself, so that it's done in less places. So I'll get rid of this for now, and I'll put it on the player udon instead. So the player udon doesn't exist anymore like it did before. Also means that the player of the item P API is going to be the same for the player udons as it is that. I think I need to open up the P udon and mess around over here. Because now this is going to have a snow gun associated with it. Snow gun. So each player is going to have a snow gun associated with them. So a player getting synced into it is going to be a lot more than it did before. Whereas the snow gun is the thing that actually starts the process. So what this is going to do is it's going to say, it's going to try to claim P. This is trying to make sure that you're not already a player, which is actually good. But I'm kind of doing it here already anyway, because that will also be determining it. So I don't even need to do that necessarily. I can just send it as a direct event. So pudon.send custom event. Oops. So the pudon is going to be doing all of the work here. Let's see. Honestly, the snow gun's more of a middleman and a middleman program more than anything, it seems like. All right, so verify the player does not have a pudon, and that's particularly this one is open for the taking. So this verifies that this one's open for the taking. Player dons. This goes through the list of all the player dons and just makes sure that your name doesn't exist on any of them. Then you proceed to claim it by applying your display name into the sync string, while also setting your local P index into the player tracker. Does the player tracker use this anywhere? Like a P index? Because it doesn't. I don't need it to be local, right? I can just have it be the P index. It's not doing anything there. Yeah, let's replace this local with just this. One second thought, maybe not. I do feel like it's important to know that it's local that you're referencing it, in case I have to pull it from a pudon. Although in that case it would be a work P index, but... Alright, so pudon. So it's setting the sync string, then it serializes it and sets yourself into it. And then when it serializes, that's going to send the update P name back. When the sync string gets updated, it'll sync back to here. It'll change the P name to be equal to the sync string, and then it will go through a series of events. Make sure that the P name isn't unclaimed, and if it is not, then it will proceed to find the player list, find your name as it matches in it, sets your P into this under the PHP, and update the player tracker at the same time. Now P being the value player list, I, P. Update player tracker. Okay, so all this does is it just sets the player API into this, which might not even be needed. No, it'll probably be needed for like teleporting the player if they get hit and stuff, or like die. Yeah, it's definitely gonna be needed. It says update the player tracker. which is done on this program itself. All this is going to do is it's going to take the active P API height P, and it's going to set into it as long as the P is valid. And the PHP is greater than or equal to 0. Making sure that it's actually claimed is the important thing here. But I'm going to do some other things here now too, because this is now where the item is going to be kept from the player tracker's list of items. So there's also going to be the active item, the item P API, and the item P is not going to change. Instead, there's going to be a snowball thing for every player. Alright, so and height isn't needed. I will need a way to keep track of which arm is holding it, though, because it is going to be attached to a hand. What if there's a way to grab that from when you grab it in the first place? I'll probably just have some kind of a toggle down the road. Where do we want it to have it synced? Do I want to have it synced on this? Probably not. This has a lot more variables on it. I think it makes more sense for the snow gun to have it on itself. Either way, I'm definitely going to need a Boolean here, so new bool 10 does not need to be public. It does need to be public, doesn't it? I guess it could be hide and expector public. There's no reason to do that, because it needs to be grabbed by the udon that's actually using it to do things. Then again, it's able to grab this anyway, right? So that, yeah, it doesn't need to be public. Neither does that. But this does need to be a new float 10 then. So active item, and then I'll have another one here for right hand. And that'll be 10. And now, when I come down to here, this is going to be a simple if statement. Can I just, like, do this? No, I can't. So what is this actually getting? I might just have to do an if statement. Okay. So instead, this is going to be getting It's a boolean. Okay, so it's going to set these back into it as well. So this, as a part of this, I should probably have the sync under snowgun. So you're gonna get a sync again. I don't need any of this. Don't need this. Don't need this. Actually, I might need to update the player tracker for the handedness of this one. All right, item hands. Call it handedness. Okay. So now there's a boolean that can be pulled from, which if I go to here, I can set the item hand of the p index to become equal to the boolean that we find on the snow gun, which is going to be handedness. And I need to just basically copy this, only instead of this is for active item. And then I need to make the item API also P as well. Okay. That way it follows the player as well. Ha 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 ha. So now if you grab the gun, it's going to do two things. It's both going to bind the gun to you and also claim the player at the same time. Alright, which means that what I'm doing here is no longer needed because everything that I'm doing here is already done over on the guns, or on the pickup side of things. I may not even need to have P in here anymore either, because again, it's all done through the player done. Now, item index, I may not even need to have in here because again, everything's done through the player done. It is important to have an item index, but its index is going to be equal to the player done index. So. All right. So tracker. I guess, So what I will have is I will have an active item for each gun, but the item doesn't necessarily have to be active, like following them, because if they trade it out for something else, I want them to be able to activate it again later. But at the same time, No, let's keep it separate. Because I'm gonna have other items too that aren't linked to the player udon, so let's keep it separate. I do need to get the active information about the player and relative positioning. And that's true. Let's see. Bouncing around right now. So basically, now that I have this, I have it so that as soon as you try to pick up this pickup, it's going to instantly transfer you onto the tracker, set it the udon to start following you, and all of that jazz. The team of the P udon is also going to be static now, so I will set you into it in a different way. That means that the P udon will have a static team. So this is now going to be a serialized field. And it's still going to be 0 or 1, but regardless. I'll probably just make it so that it's like odds and evens, honestly. And percent 2 and see what you get kind of thing. Yeah, I'll do that. Oops, I just deleted the wrong thing. I think. Oh, no, I didn't. That just has the wrong label. It's just p height. P index, p team. The player value themselves. Maybe I'll change. I'm getting tired of not being able to find this. I'm gonna change it to like this. Save, 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 save. Something I could set at start as well, or find in runtime as I need it, but I think it's easier just to have it as a solid variable that's just set in place. So I think I will have the p team be a variable that's changeable in the hierarchy. What's your issue? Snow system 55. What do you mean? What's going on here? What do you not like about this? Same name method. Oh, it doesn't like this, probably. I don't think it likes the collision there. What if I just do this? And then the C, it would be C.GameObject instead. How about that? No? Can you not get the collision? No, it got it. No, it didn't. Still doesn't like it. Apparently it's more complex than I wanted it to be. So this can't exist. Instead, I need to get a value of collision events, which is equal to other versus the... How does this work? Particle collision events. It's a list. Oh my gosh. So I have to have a list just for getting one particle out of it. Infinity particle collision effects. Particle collision location. Particle, there's only a single particle, then only logical the position, point of collision. Only weighted particle through array that doesn't give any information about the particles collided. No point in telling what's collided. It looks like I just have to get a list. I'll just put this right above it. I'm just copying it directly from the wiki and seeing, or well, the document's not the wiki. Namespace cannot be found. Are you using a directive or resource? Does VRChat not allow lists? I thought lists were a thing now. Or maybe it's JSON that's a thing now. How do I get the collision event target then? I guess the particle itself could just be location of impact. Because it has a collider range, right? Alright, for now it's just going to be the particle's location, I guess. This is essentially what I'm trying to do. I don't really want to use a sub-emitter. I want to do this in code. Impact particle. On trigger enter. I don't want to, but I wanted to use the on collision effect. I guess I could just use a sub-emitter. No, I can't, because if I wanted to sync it, then I wouldn't be able to do it that way. Is there a contacts with an other? No, there's not. Just want to get the point of the particle collision. Looks like you can just get the collision info by calling get collision events inside of the particle collision. static integer, get collision events. I don't want to list though. Can I just get the first collision event? It's trying to get me to use the list again. Seems like this is going to be the only way I can do it, is if I get the collision events of the other, and a list, but I don't want to make a, I don't have a, I can't really use the list here, I don't think. I don't actually know. Is there not an easier way to do it? I don't think there is. I guess I just have to have it be the position of the particle at the time. What it wants me to do is it wants me to have all of this. And it doesn't like this. Yeah, it doesn't like lists. How do I get the point of impact? I'll leave that blank for now. Oh, I might just have to come back to this after I get some help, because it's kind of stalling me. Alright, so instead, let's move forward and look back over here. Player dons. So let's make another thing here under player dons. Called snow guns. Oh, I should probably prefab this actually. Make a new folder. And then under prefabs, player udons. Call it P0. And under P0, we're gonna have player udon. That means I don't need this folder anymore. Alright, so you have the snow gun underneath. This part doesn't really matter. This part matters. And this part matters. The claim player is a pickup which is intrinsically linked to the snow gun. However, it doesn't need to be underneath it. It can be right here. Fine. That's fine. Okay, I'll be a player prefab. Now I can just duplicate this out again. Oh, I forgot to link this to okay, from there, let's see, the index does need to be changed. Oh, you know what I'm gonna do actually, is I'm just gonna change these off to not have that name there. Just do that, that's fine. Alright, so this is one. Oh, I can change it here too. So this is team 0. This is 1 and 1. This is 0 and 2. This is... Wait. This is 2 and 2. 2 and 0. This is 3 and 1. This is 4 and 0, 5 and 1, 6 and 0, 7 and 1, 8 and 0, this is 9 and 1. And then for the snow guns themselves, I'm just gonna take 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. We'll just shift them slightly. Grab them. Alright, and we'll take the mesh. And we'll take the fire. Or the claim player, that's what it is. Let's find another color for this red. For now, I'm gonna just come back to it. I want to get it to actually compile so that I can check and see if I can get the udon. But this is a way to actually get the player within sight of it. And then I can make a simple test system to see if it's actually like detecting the hits and teleporting you back. How would I do that? I'll just use the door udon, just do it on the P udon side of things, have a transform that you get sent back to for the short term. A respawn location, as it were. Alright. So clear play. There is going to be a script crash. 110% chance there is going to be a script crash as soon as I click on the cube. Let's grab one of these ones. Alright. Where is it at? Oh, I didn't. Did I not reference it, really? No, I did not. Alright. Try again. That one didn't count. Alright. For real this time. Where did it go? Wait, is it another reference issue? Did I forget to do it again somewhere else? No, it's, oh, it's, I see, it's a tracker, it doesn't have them all on it. Or these, actually, for that matter. They're in order, right? Yeah, they are. Okay. All right, how about now? Now you will give me an actual script crash that's not a reference error, right? Because that's what I really wanted to see. Okay. What? It totally has one now. What are you talking about? Player.dons.length. Oh, it's getting it from the world variables and not the player tracker. Honestly, I'm just gonna get it from the player tracker. I don't even think I need it to get it from the world variables here. Honestly, the world variables is becoming less and less useful to me as it is anyway. So what I will do is under the world variables, I'm just going to remove the player dons from here and these two. And now it should be grabbing it from the tracker, which does have them. Wait, does it not have them? I mean, it has these. But that's not the same thing. Never mind, I still need it. Well, it is the same thing, though, because it's the collider around it. It's just a different name. The name being this. I guess it makes more sense to have it in in a single place on the world variables. Nothing I do makes sense, honestly. But regardless, in that case, I do need to reference it properly. Okay. Here we go. So we run over here, and now we grab it. Well, it's stuck to me, to my face, that is. And it appears the collider is not following me. Why is it doing claim player repeatedly? So it should be going to here. It should be checking that it finds one with a snow impact of greater than 1, which should be all of them. Oh, wait. I don't have any snow systems yet. Start with a 0. Oh. Sure, I'll just make this one 0. That's fine. I'll make this one 1. That should be enough, right? One, two, three, four. Now I should be able to fire them again. Then I need to figure out why it's not following the player. Wait, is it firing from the wrong place? Hold on. Alright, snow system. What are you targeting? Is it the wrong one? What? Five. It's 5. That's 5. No, it's the right one. And this is the right fire position. It's the right snow systems. That worked. So why is it firing from over there? Hold on. What's going on? This is linked to the wrong thing then. What? What? That's claiming that one. That's claiming that one. Why is it firing it from there? What? That makes no sense. Phoenix 3 team. I'm so confused. Why is it firing from over there? It has to be a reference issue. But I can't find the reference issue. This one is here under the 5. It's currently being held. It links to this gun, which is there. So that's the issue. It's the wrong thing is following me is the issue. 3 is following me for some reason. There has to be a problem here, right? Oh yeah, it's all over the place. Thought it was in order, but it was not in order. Yeah, it is. Don't be stupid. Ooh. Alright. So I grab it, and then I go over here, and now it fires properly. Kind of. It's firing too fast, first of all. There should be a forced delay. And then also... You know, I don't need to sync the delay requirement on the snow system. In fact, oh, that's why. Because the snow systems are individual. Yeah, that's the issue. Okay. Alright. I don't need the old sync delay. That is not needed. I'm not going to track the sync delay here. All that matters here is the snow impact is equal to 0. I do not even want an old sync delay. I don't even want it. Instead, the snow gun is going to have a sync delay on it. Basically, a boolean valid fire is equal to true by default. And if you fire it locally, of course, and it succeeds, it will set the valid fire to false with a if valid fire. I guess we'll call it invalid fire instead. Call it invalid fire. That way, it's if invalid fire is true and starts false, then it just returns. And as a part of sending this, it will send a public void revalid fire delay clear. And we'll have a delay float variable up here. Public float fire delay equals 0.5 f. And all this needs to do is set the invalid fire to false. And then here what we'll do is we'll send a custom delayed seconds, name of delay clear, and for a duration of fire delay. And this should make it so that you can't fire again within 5 seconds. Yeah. And that way this node system doesn't even have to worry about keeping track of that at all. Like, this isn't even needed there at all. And that should limit my use of it to become less spammy. The other thing is I feel like it's not using the right system. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I check to see where each of these was, yeah, these ones aren't even getting used. So I think the snow system isn't. Let's see here. When I click it, it's not changing the snow impact at all. If I go to public variables, oops. It's just 1. It's never changing from 1. So when you activate snow, it sets the snow impact value. And it changes it to 0. That's the first thing it should do. And it serializes it. And then when you serialize it, it registers that you're firing snow. Or I guess I could just call it snow event. That makes more sense because you're not always firing snow. It's also checking to see what happens when the snow hits. Ideally, if I can get the other part working anyway. And then, so you get the create snow, the snow impact. So if it's equal to 0, then it fires and it changes it back to 1, which means it's valid again. That's the issue, is it does have to be greater than 1. That's why. Okay, so snow impact has to be greater than 1, but as a part of that, I also need to make it so that it can impact on the ground. Or default, rather. Because if it's not able to impact on the ground or walls, it'll never come back. It'll never clear the snow impact, because right when it impacts, it changes it to the other layer, which is important for this aspect. But if it impacts on the ground, I guess I need a default for that. Default, it will set the program variable of this instead to be equal to 0, 1, back to 1. So it can be reused again. Yeah, all right, let's save that. Now I should be both delayed and cycling through my snow systems as well. I believe. Did it not save or clear? Build? I think I built. Let's see. We'll find out. Yeah, I knew it. I knew it. It hadn't compiled yet. Oh my gosh. You're so annoying. Unity and VRChat system can be so annoying sometimes. Alright, let's try again. So I build it. Okay, and I run over here and I grab the thing. I fire, nothing happens. I think I messed up. I messed up because the snow impact has to be greater than 1 when you fire it. And I have it not greater than 1 to start the firing process. Okay, I need to think about this. I'll be back in a minute. I need to go for a bit. So I shall be back. Okay, so back to what I was trying to figure out before. So it's not firing now. Why is it not firing? It's either not firing here or there. If this is true, it returns, but it's not true, so that means that the issue has to be here. If snow impact is greater than 1 is the requirement. But it starts at... I see, okay. I see the issue. Alright, I just need to change the starting value and then it should be fine, because it impacts the ground and it changes back. So all of these just need to have been changed to snow impact of 2 to start. Right, that's simple as that, probably. Okay, so I have it, and it fires, and if I fire it again, if I look at the actual snow system itself that fires when I do it, I guess I should have probably grabbed the right one, huh? This one. Yep, so it's properly moving now. So because... Oh, why did it get reset to 1 though? So it's back to the problem from before. It should be... Oh, duh. I haven't set the layers to actually impact with the ground again. That's why. Collides with currently default will be the thing it collides with as well. Okay. Save. I guess I should just do it from here. It's fine. There we go. Now, this time for real, it should probably let me fire repeatedly and not cause problems. So I have it. I click. It hits the ground, resets. I can click it. I can spam it. Oh, but if I spam it, it gives me a script error. Oh, is something missing its targeting? Why do those ones not have it? Come on. Okay. For real this time, it's gonna be fine. All right. I grab it. I fire. It clears. I spam it as much as I can, which is not very much. And it can be fired again. Because it's changed to 2. 0? That's not right. No, yes, it changed to... Okay, so I set it to 2. Now I can fire... I think it's not changing properly. If I go back to the on-particle collision, it sets the program variable to the other layer 2. There we go. Actually, what is the layer of default? 0? Yeah, definitely can't be 0. Oh my gosh. Okay. This time, for real, to the power of 2, it's going to be fine. It's going to let me fire off, and it's going to hit the ground, reset, and let me do it, spam it. Well, not spam it, it's going to have a delay limited inside of it. Which, given the speed of the projectiles, I probably just need 3. I probably don't need 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Aha, yep, I can do it. Alright, so if I do this over the ledge, it's not going to reset, but at the same time, I should be able to check to make sure I can fire more than one at a time. Alright, so I go close to the edge. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, that was all 4 of them. Okay. Good, good, good. So you can claim a player now, it'll follow you around. I need to make it so you can reposition the weapon now, is one of the things I wanted to do, so that like no matter how like you orient it on your body, and then that's where it's like kind of locked in on your arm. I could do that in a positional thing, like where if you grab it while you're inside of this zone. Then that'll be the trigger for it. Maybe. At least for the temporary being. Something else I need to do actually is I need to make it so that the grabby thing goes away for everybody else, both in appearance, maybe, and in grabbableness. And I need to make it so that when you claim a player, it also makes it so that you have it get turned on. We'll do that through here. When it's forced to update the P name and slot in a player into it in the first place, I will do it here where it will turn it back on. So it'll get components, capsule collider, I believe is what it is, and just turn that true. Maybe I'll just make it so that if PHP is greater than 0, it turns on. That way it'll change whenever it matters. What was the other thing I needed to do? All right, repositioning these things. Okay, well, first things first, I'm going to move these over. I'll just reset their positions here. There we go. Two, 4, 6, and 8. And then hindsight, I'm doing this in a very stupid way. I'm going to change it later so that they're not named like 0 to 10, and I'll have them named elves 0 to 10 and Grinches 0 to 10. That makes much more sense. Alright. So now I have 2 spots over here and over there. And then we'll make another temporary location here. What I can actually do is I could just turn this into a trigger collider. Does not need to have a synchronization. All this is going to do is let me trigger something. On the world variables, I guess I could have it under the world variables maybe? Sure, why not? We'll just make it Boolean here. And then on the this script, it's just going to be a very simple public override void on player join. No, it's on player hit. Oh my gosh. On enter collider, on enter trigger. Maybe it's just a public void. On enter trigger. Open reset door. No, it doesn't have it there. On player trigger enter. It is override void. I had it backwards. That's why. And this is just going to do a simple what are you doing? Oh no, it's doing it again. I hate it when it does this. Oh my gosh, don't save. Gosh dang it. Alright, so I need to I think it was under the workspace is still open, it's just being stupid about it. I guess it doesn't matter, I don't need it that bad. I'll just make it public, doesn't even matter. World on behavior, world variables, is null, and it's going to be a simple on enter. all it needs to do is it needs to assuming it's exit. They'll set the program variable of reposition items to true and invert that to false if you exit. That's all it needs to do. Hopefully it doesn't cause me any problems from not having it in a thing. And then on the pickup, this is the big thing, because what it'll do is normally if you pick up use down, it will fire. In this case, instead of firing, I want it to reposition, so it'll do this. So if bool from the world variables dot get program variable reposition items. So if this is true, it's going to do this and then return after it's done. Where instead it's going to do is it's going to locally tell you to stop tell the item to stop being paired to the player so they can move around. And the new position is going to orient itself on the arm or leg or whatnot. Basically, it's a means of letting them move it around on their body for wherever they wanted to have the blockage at. Let's see, reposition items. I could even make it a pickup script that you can actually like position around. Probably better just to have it on the item itself, where if you're holding it down, it stops moving it. I need this script, this part right here. Kind of. Not that part though. Or that part, or that part, or this part. Or honestly this part. All I need is this part. This is all that matters. So it'll take the active item from the player tracker, make it active P. It'll set it to false, and the integer is going to be equal to the integer of the Pyodon of the P index. Which honestly I could probably do right now and make it the sibling index instead. That's, you know, I am going to stop being stupid. I'm making my life harder than it needs to be. There we go. Now I don't even need to have a P index proper, honestly. Because if I ever need a P index, it's literally just going to be the sibling index. Ooh, no, wait, I will still need one because the player tracker isn't going to individually look at them. I can make it so it does, though. No, let's keep it as it is. This is fine. Let's not cause new problems for myself by trying to make it easier for myself. P-index. So it's going to get the p-index, and it's going to use that as its reference point for turning itself off. And then it'll return so it doesn't go into the rest of it. And then what I will do here is if it's a delay clear, let's do this, public void clear reposition. That sets it back to true. This is going to do something else. This is going to sync a value that everybody else will see. That'll determine the reposition relative to the player. It's just doing it locally right now, and that's fine. That's not fine. It needs to have a value, because if it doesn't have a value, it'll just go right back and it'll snap back to the player. But that said, I think it is. Where should I put the value, and how is it going to be relative to the arm in terms of position and location? This will cause a problem. I think if I just do it like this, it'll be fine. The syncing aspect is, I mean, it'll only be when you're there anyway. Alright, and then this is going to be called every time after you fire, though. That's annoying. How about I do this instead? No. Tell you what I am going to do is, this is actually what this is going to do, but I'm just going to have it change the string so it doesn't reactivate anything. So when you clear the position, it'll reset it, and then it'll set a program variable of the on pickup use up event to be nothing. So it will no longer send the event. Excuse me. And if this gets set to true, it will set it to clear position so that it actually does what you need it to do. I could even make it so that that's what the world variables does, but that's more roundabout. I'm just going to do it like this. This is fine. So obviously it's not going to work right now. It's just going to snap back to the player as soon as you let up. However, it should at least let me test it in both grabbing it and theoretically like test repositioning it on the arm. And the temporary thing is going to be all it does is it changes the reposition items to true and false on the world variables, which I should be able to check. All right, so I have world variables active. I can see reposition items as false. I'm going to run over to blue, and I'm going to grab one of the blue things. I didn't set it to true. Why is it not true? Oh, because it didn't change the target. That's also doing me script error, so that's not entirely true. Alright, what's wrong here? Oh, is it the layer? I think it's the layer, player local layer. Try again. All right. So I run over here, I pick up one of the cubes say yay. And if I look at the world variables, it still isn't detecting me. Okay. That's annoying. Also, why is it not firing? Did it not change all these back? It's equal to 2. Why are you not firing? What's going on? Snow impact should be changed to 0 when you click fire on it. What? Is there an issue in the script somewhere? If I change it manually to 0 and serialize it, it changes it back to 2. And that's it. Is it not firing? Oh, wait. It was firing. Hold on. Oh, it's colliding with itself. Oh. So it's not that it's not firing, it's just that it's going so fast I don't see it because it's colliding with the default layer. This is why I needed another layer. So I definitely need like a walls layer or something that's not. Or I can just change this layer to be different. I can change this to be a pickup layer. That's what we'll do instead. So Snowgun is now going to be officially the pickup layer. Or at least the things with colliders is. It is the pickup layer. So why is it colliding? It shouldn't even be colliding with any other layer besides the default. Is it colliding with the player? Because that could be the issue too. Let me try this again. I'll try something else. A couple of things actually. First I grab it, and then I test fire. It's definitely colliding again. If I go to the player in question, and I turn this off, yep, it's just colliding with myself. Okay, alright then. How big is the collider here? It's not even that big. How is it colliding with me? Okay. I think that this would actually be fixed if the mesh was rotated, which I can't do because it flips back. That's annoying. If theoretically this gun were rotated, it would be fine. Though, also it might be fine if the player were smaller, because right now it's not firing. But if I make it so that the projectile, sorry, the snow particles are smaller, say like 0.25 instead. Yeah, now they're able to be fine. So instead of doing that, though, let's see about changing their collision. How do I change the size of them? I guess I just change the play around. Those are big snowballs anyway. Alright, so back to the other thing I was trying to test is if you go onto here, it's supposed to change the world variables value, but it's not. So I'm just going to do it manually. And now, oh, it's giving me a script error. Oh, I didn't, of course, I didn't actually link it. Alright, two things I need to do. One thing is I'm going to change this down, start size to trade 0.6. And then we're going to reference the claim from here, and then we're going to apply it. And then, why is this not working though? Seriously. It's a trigger, it's player local layer. Or maybe it needs to be a collider that interacts with player local. No, not that one. But no, player local does interact with this layer. Okay, we will give it a try. This time I am going to also check to see if it's actually detecting my presence inside of it. I don't think it is though. I think that's part of the issue on the world variable side of things, but... Alright, so I run over, I will grab a gun. Before I get there, I'm going to clear my log. Alright, does it detect me enter it? It does not. It's a trigger. Maybe it's the synchronization. Maybe it can't be... I'm gonna change this real quick. Maybe it has to be manual. Or maybe it doesn't need to be not player local. Maybe it actually has to be default. Maybe that's why. Oh my gosh. I don't get you. I don't get you at all. I made so many doors and they work fine. Whatever, I'll just do it manually again. Grab it, fire, shoot, it's fine. Change the world variables manually to reposition mode. And now if I hold it, it lets me move away from it, so I'd be able to like position it like relative to where I'd want it to be. Of course, if I let go right now, it just snaps back to there. However, the idea is that you can reposition it this way. As for where it positions on the body, this is one of the aspects I'm not really sure about because I don't actually know in that regard. I think I can just play around with it first and then see from there. I'm sure there's something weird that I have to do to get it to follow the player the right way. Let's just test this real quick. What's the default on this right now? The default is handedness, which is false. And when it sets the claim into place, it sets the item hand to be handedness, which is by default, again, false. So false is the state by default. So let's just do this real quick. We're gonna be silly and say like it's gonna start like, I don't know, not one in front of the player, like one to the side of the player, and see what that does to it. If it links without like and rotates with me in a way, it'll probably be fine, but I have a feeling like it's not going to be this simple. And I'll need to get help because I have no idea what I'm doing there. I'll also need to open up another project and see what I did with my colliders to make doors work, I guess. Or just to make collision detection on players work, I guess. You know what I meant. Alright, so I run over here, I grab it, and now let's see what it looks like on me. How is it moving around me? So yeah, it's relative to an exact point in space. So even though it's linked to my right, like to one of my digits, it's not really like it's not really really linked to it. It is for a little bit. Like it does go up and down with it, but. I think I might have to call it there and see what the scripts that other people use to get it actually linked to the hand R. We'll call it there for today. I'll figure it out eventually. Good luck, person, with your life.